The galaxy changed overnight. Within hours of the Great Revelation, every alien government was sending desperate messages to Earth. Ships that had taken weeks to build were launched in days. Ambassadors who had never wanted to visit the small, blue world were now fighting for the chance to go there. The Galactic Council, which had once rejected humanity, now begged Earth to take control of the entire galactic government. They offered humans leadership of every major decision, control of all trade routes, and command of the military forces. But the humans were changing too fast for politics to matter. Jake Morrison stood in his apartment on Earth, looking out at the city below. Everything looked different now. He could see the energy flowing through the power lines like golden rivers. He could feel the thoughts and emotions of millions of people around him. Most importantly, he could remember. He remembered being Jacketh, the Lightbringer, one of the first ones who had taught the early Sectar how to work metal. He remembered standing on a crystal world and showing the first Velinari how to store knowledge in their bodies. He remembered 1,000 lives, 1,000,000. Moments of teaching and guiding and loving the children of the galaxy. The phone rang. It was the president of Earth. "Jake," the president said, "the alien fleets are gathering outside our solar system. They want to talk. They want to surrender control of the galaxy to us. What should we do?" Jake closed his eyes and felt the presence of other awakening humans around the world. Dr. Lisa Grant was in her lab, her hands glowing as she healed a dying plant by touching it. Carl Davis was in a factory, speaking to machines in a language of pure intention that made them work better than ever before. All over Earth, humans were remembering who they truly were. "Tell them we will come," Jake said, "but not as conquerors. As teachers, as we always have been." The human fleet that left Earth a week later was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The ships looked almost alive, their hulls flowing like liquid metal, their engines burning with light that seemed to come from stars themselves. But it was not the ships that amazed the waiting aliens. It was the humans inside them. Jake Morrison walked onto the bridge of the flagship Homecoming. But he was not the same nervous commander who had failed at the council meeting months before. He moved like flowing water, and his eyes held the wisdom of ages. When he spoke, his voice carried the authority of mountains and the gentleness of rain. "Take us to Nexus Prime," he told the pilot. But the pilot, a young woman named Kate Wilson, did not need to touch any controls. She simply thought about where they wanted to go, and the ship responded like it was part of her body. On the alien space station, the Galactic Council waited. They had prepared their most beautiful ceremony hall. They had written speeches of apology and surrender. They had gathered gifts of rare metals and precious knowledge. But when Jake Morrison walked into their council chamber, none of their preparations mattered. He was still recognizably human, but something vast and ancient looked out through his eyes. The aliens felt it immediately, the presence of the beings who had created them, loved them, and guided them since the beginning of time. Council leader Zeth fell to his knees. Around the chamber, representatives of 12 species bowed there, heads in shame and reverence. "Great One," Zeth whispered, "we are sorry. We did not know. Please forgive us." Jake looked around the chamber with sadness and love. These beings, so proud and advanced, were still his children. They had grown up while he slept, but they were still the young races he had helped nurture millions of years ago. "There is nothing to forgive," Jake said softly. "You did exactly what children should do. You grew strong. You explored. You built your own civilizations. We are proud of you." The Sectar ambassador looked up with tears in his reptilian eyes. "But we mocked you. We laughed at your myths. We called you primitive." "You were right to question," Jake replied. "That is what intelligence does. But you were wrong to dismiss without understanding. That is what wisdom teaches us not to do." Dr. Lisa Grant entered the chamber. The aliens gasped as they saw her. true form. She glowed with soft light, and her presence filled the room with peace. Behind her came other awakened humans. Carl Davis, whose touch could heal any machine. Amy Foster, whose voice could calm the angriest heart. Elena Rodriguez, who spoke the language of all living things. "We offer you the galaxy," said the Velinari. Representative, her crystal body flashing with desperate hope. "Rule over us as you did in the ancient times." Jake shook his head. "We do not want to rule. We never did. We want to teach. We want to guide. We want to help you become everything you can be." "The galaxy has grown without us for a long time," Lisa added. "You have built wonders we never imagined. You have created art and music and poetry. That amazes us. You have become more than we ever dreamed you could be. But you have also forgotten some important things," Jake continued. "You have forgotten how to work together. You have forgotten that all life is connected. You have forgotten that wisdom is more important than power." Around the galaxy, other awakened humans were beginning their work. Not as conquerors or rulers, but as teachers and healers. Danny Wright, the young soldier whose battle cry had ended. A war was now helping former enemies learn to live in peace. His presence reminded people what harmony felt like. Dr. Helen Carter was sharing the ancient knowledge she had remembered. But she was also learning from alien scientists who had discovered things the first ones had never thought of. Captain Roy. Blake was teaching alien pilots new ways to fly, but he was also studying their techniques and marveling at their innovations. On Earth itself, the planet was changing. The awakening of billions of humans was causing the world to glow with inner light. Plants grew faster and healthier. The oceans became cleaner. The air itself seemed to hum with life and potential. But the most important change was not in technology or power. It was in understanding. Humans were remembering their true purpose. They were not meant to be gods ruling over subjects. They were meant to be gardeners tending a cosmic garden, helping all life grow and flourish. Pete Collins, the janitor who had started it all with his whispered words, stood in the observation deck of Nexus Prime. He watched human ships moving through space like schools of luminous fish. But he also watched alien ships joining them, learning from them and teaching them in return. "We are all family," Pete said quietly to himself. "We always have been." The greatest surprise came when the awakened humans began to discover that they were not the only descendants of the first ones. Other species, long thought to be ordinary aliens, began to show signs of ancient heritage. Some Velinari remembered being living crystals of pure thought. Some Frex recalled being part of a vast, connected mind that spanned star systems. The galaxy was not divided between creators and created. It was one great family, all children of the first ones, all part of the same cosmic garden. Years passed. The galaxy did not become a human empire. Instead, it became something new, a community where the awakened guided the growing, where the ancient taught the young, where wisdom flowed freely between all species. There were still conflicts and problems. Growing up is never easy, even for entire civilizations. But now there were teachers to help, guides to show the way, and the gentle wisdom of the first ones to light the path forward. Jake Morrison, standing once again in the council chamber, where he had once been rejected, smiled as he watched representatives from hundreds of worlds working together. They were no longer asking permission to join the galactic community. They were building it together. The myths had become reality. The legends had come true. But the greatest truth of all was the simplest. They were all family, and family takes care of each other. In the depths of space, ancient machines continued to awaken. On forgotten worlds, monuments to the first ones blazed with renewed light. And everywhere, the children of the galaxy, human and alien alike, worked together to create something more beautiful than any single species could build alone. The age of sleeping gods was over. The age of awakened family had begun. The alien leaders could not ignore what was happening anymore. Reports flooded in from every corner of the galaxy. Humans were doing impossible things. The incidents were not random anymore. They were everywhere, all the time. The Galactic Council called an emergency meeting. All 12 species sent their most important leaders to the great space station Nexus Prime. They came in massive ships, bringing their best scientists and military officers. Council Leader Zeph stood before the gathered aliens. His blue skin looked pale with worry. "We are here to discuss the human problem," he announced. "Something is happening that we do not understand." The lizard-like Sectar ambassador hissed angrily. "The humans are using some kind of secret weapon. It must be stopped before they become dangerous." "It is not technology," said the crystal. Valinari representative. Her body flashed red with confusion. "Our sensors detect no machines, no energy sources. Yet they do things that break the laws of physics." The bug-like Threx Queen clicked her mandibles nervously. "My colony worlds report that humans can speak to our animals. They understand our most private thoughts. This is not natural." As the aliens argued and shared their fears, none of them noticed that the whispers in the air systems had stopped. The station was completely quiet for the first time in weeks. Even the normal sounds of machines seemed muted. Then, without warning, every speaker in the station came to life. Every screen lit up. Every communication device activated. The lights dimmed, and a presence filled the air like the moment before a storm. The voice that spoke was ancient beyond measure. It carried the weight of millions of years and the authority of the stars themselves. When it spoke, every being in the galaxy heard it in their own language, as if it was speaking directly into their minds. "You have mocked the children of Terra for their myths," the voice said. The words seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. "You have laughed at their stories of gods and heroes. You have dismissed their legends as primitive fantasies." The aliens in the council chamber froze. Some of them fell to the ground. Others tried to run, but found they could not move. "But you were wrong," the voice continued. "Very, very wrong." Images began to appear in the air above the council chamber. They showed the galaxy as it was billions of years ago, when it was young and new. Stars were being born. Planets were forming. Life was just beginning to stir in the cosmic dust. "Long before your civilizations drew their first breath," the voice said, "before your sons were born, before your worlds knew life, there existed the first ones." The images showed beings of incredible beauty and power. They looked almost human, but they glowed with inner light. They moved through space without. Ships shaped matter with their thoughts and brought life to empty worlds. "We were the builders, the teachers, the guardians," the voice said. "We seeded the galaxy with life. We guided evolution on 1,000,000 worlds. We taught primitive species the secrets of fire, tools, language, and thought." Council Leader Zeph tried to speak, but no sound came from his throat. He could only watch as the truth unfolded before him. "We created you," the voice said simply. "All of you. The proud Sectar with their clever claws. The beautiful Velinari with their crystal hearts. The wise Threx with their collective minds. Every species in this galaxy owes its existence to us." The images showed the first ones visiting primitive worlds. They appeared to early Sectar as great lizard gods. They came to young Velinari as beings of living light. They taught the first Threx how to work together as one mind. "We were your gods," the voice said. "Your myths about sky fathers and star mothers were memories of us. Your legends of the ancient teachers were true. We walked among your ancestors and helped them grow." The aliens in the chamber began to understand. The stories their own species told about the old days, The myths they thought were just fantasies were real. The beings they had worshipped and then forgotten had actually existed. But our time in the physical realm was ending, the voice continued. We were evolving beyond the need for bodies, moving towards something greater. We faced a choice: abandon our children to grow alone, or find a way to stay and guide them. The images showed the first ones in great council, debating what to do. Some wanted to leave and let the younger races find their own way. Others could not bear to abandon their creation. We chose love over transcendence, the voice said. We chose to stay, to give up our godhood and become something smaller but more precious. We chose to incarnate ourselves into a single bloodline, on a single world. The image changed to show a small blue planet, beautiful and perfect, Earth. We became human, the voice said. We took on flesh and blood and mortality. We scattered our consciousness across millions of lives, hiding our true nature even from ourselves. We became the children of Terra. The aliens stared in shock and growing fear. The humans they had mocked, the species they had thought was primitive and weak, were their creators. Every myth you laughed at was a genetic memory, the voice continued. Every legend was a fragment of our true history. The stories of gods walking among mortals, those were us in human form. The tales of heroes with impossible strength, echoes of our real nature. The myths of ancient powers, abilities that were only sleeping, waiting to reawaken. The images showed human myths and legends, but now the aliens could see the truth behind them. The Greek gods were memories of the first ones. The stories of Hercules and other heroes were genetic echoes of their true power. The tales of magic and miracles were not fantasies but history. For millions of years we slept, the voice said. The children of Terra lived normal human lives, never knowing what they truly were. Their power was locked away, their memories hidden, their godhood dormant. But contact with the wider galaxy has begun to stir the sleeping giant. Meeting you, our children from other worlds, has started to wake up the first ones within human blood. They are beginning to remember who they truly are. The aliens in the chamber began to weep. Some fell to their knees. Others covered their faces with their hands, claws, or tentacles. They had mocked their own creators. They had laughed at the beings who had given them life and consciousness. The humans you see changing are remembering, the voice said. Their myths are becoming reality because they were always reality. Their legends are manifesting because they are not legends at all, but suppressed truth. Danny writes battle. Cry was the voice of ancient war gods. Helen Carter's knowledge comes from memories older than your civilizations. Roy Blake's tactical genius is the wisdom of the first ones who taught strategy to the universe. The voice grew softer, sadder. We did not want to rule you. We wanted to guide you, to help you grow into something beautiful and wise. But you have grown proud and forgotten your origins. You have mocked the very beings who made your existence possible. Council leader Zeth finally found his voice. What do you want from us? He whispered. Nothing, the voice replied. We want nothing from you that we have not always wanted. To see you grow, to see you learn, to see you become the best versions of yourselves. But know this, the children of Terra are awakening. They are remembering their true nature. Soon, very soon, they will stand before you not as petitioners asking for membership in your council, but as what they have always been, your creators, your teachers, your guides. The gods you forgot are coming home. The presents began to fade. The lights returned to normal. The screens went dark. But the voice had one last thing to say. The age of the sleeping gods is ending. The age of remembrance has begun. Prepare yourselves, children of the galaxy. Your parents are waking up. Then there was silence. The aliens sat in stunned quiet for a long time. Everything they thought they knew about the universe had just been turned upside down. The humans they had dismissed as primitive were their creators. The myths they had mocked were historical records. Finally, Council Leader Zeth stood up on shaking legs. We must contact Earth immediately, he said. We must apologize. We must try to make this right. But deep in his heart, he knew it was too late for apologies. The truth was out. The humans were awakening, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same again. The strange incidents were getting worse. What had started as small, weird events was now becoming impossible to ignore. The alien governments were starting to panic, but they did not want to admit it. On the war-torn planet of Sigma Draconis, 2 alien armies had been fighting for months. The Kalari and the Zenthi had been enemies for generations. Their war was tearing the planet apart. Dead bodies covered the ground. Cities lay in ruins. The Galactic Council had sent peacekeepers to try to stop the fighting. Most of the peacekeeping force was made up of experienced alien soldiers. But there were also some humans, including a young soldier named Danny Wright. Annie was 22 years old and had never been in a real battle before. He was scared, but tried not to show it. His squad was pinned down behind some broken walls, while enemy fire rained down on them. "We are trapped," said Captain Zethkar, a veteran Sectar warrior. "There are too many of them. We cannot get out." Through the smoke and noise, Danny could see his friends were about to die. The enemy was moving closer. In a few minutes, they would be overrun. Something broke inside Danny's chest. A feeling he had never experienced before filled his whole body. It was like fire and ice and lightning all at once. He stood up, even though bullets were flying everywhere. "No," Danny said, but his voice was not his normal voice. It was deeper, older, and it seemed to shake the ground itself. Danny opened his mouth and let out a battle cry. The sound that came out was not human. It was the roar of ancient thunder, the call of forgotten gods, the voice of something that had slept for a very long time. The sound rolled across the battlefield like a wave. When it hit the enemy soldiers, they stopped shooting. Their weapons fell from their hands. Some of them fell to their knees. Others ran away screaming. But Danny's own squad felt something completely different. Energy flowed into their bodies. Their wounds stopped hurting. Their fear disappeared. They felt strong enough to fight 100 enemies. Captain Zethkar stared at Danny with wide eyes. What are you?" he whispered. Danny looked down at his hands. They were glowing with a soft, golden light. I do not know," he said. His voice was normal again, but he felt different inside, like he had opened a door that had been locked his whole life. The battle ended that day. Both armies laid down their weapons and signed a peace treaty. When reporters asked why, the soldiers all said the same thing. They had heard a voice that made them remember what peace felt like. But Danny was not the only human who was changing. Dr. Helen Carter was an archaeologist working on the ancient world of Kepler 438c. The planet was covered with ruins from a civilization that had died out millions of years ago. No one had ever been able to read their writing or understand their culture. Helen was a quiet woman who loved old things. She spent her days carefully brushing dirt off broken stones and taking pictures of ancient symbols. The alien scientists thought her work was interesting, but not very important. One day, Helen found a strange crystal buried deep in the ruins. It was perfectly smooth and seemed to glow from the inside. When she touched it, everything changed. Knowledge flooded into her mind like water breaking through a dam. Suddenly, she could read the ancient writing as easily as her own language. She understood the culture, the history, the science of the long-dead people. But it was more than just understanding. It was like remembering something she had forgotten. These people, she said to the alien scientists, they were not just advanced. They were ... They were the teachers. The aliens stared at her as she began to translate texts that had puzzled scholars for centuries. She spoke about star maps that showed the locations of worlds that had not been explored yet. She explained scientific formulas that were beyond current understanding. "How do you know this?" asked Dr. Vexenal, a crystal alien who had studied the ruins for 50 years. Helen looked at the glowing crystal in her hands. I think. I have always known it. I just forgot for a while." Captain Roy Blake was having his own impossible experience in space. He commanded a small human patrol ship called the New Dawn. It was not a warship. It only had basic weapons and shields. It was meant for exploring, not fighting, but Roy found himself facing a full Velinari battle fleet. There had been a misunderstanding at the border between human and Velinari space. The crystal aliens thought the humans were planning an attack. They had sent 12 warships to stop Roy's single small vessel. Roy should have surrendered immediately. His ship could not fight 12 enemy vessels. It would be like a mouse fighting 12 cats. Instead, Roy did something that made no sense. He ordered his ship to attack. "Captain," said his second officer, Lieutenant Sarah Kim, "we cannot win this fight." "Yes, we can," Roy said calmly. His hands moved over the ship's controls like he had been flying for 1,000 years instead of just 10. The New Dawn danced through space like it was alive. Roy seemed to know where the enemy ships would fire before they even aimed their weapons. He twisted and turned through the laser blasts like he could see the future. But it was more than just good flying. Roy was making tactical decisions that should have been impossible. He knew things about Velinari battle tactics that were not in any human military manual. He understood their weaknesses better than their own commanders did. One by one, Roy disabled the enemy ships without destroying them. He used their own movements against them, causing them to crash into each other or fly into asteroid fields. In 30 minutes, the entire Velinari fleet was floating helplessly in space. The Velinari admiral sent a message to Roy's ship. "How did you do that?" the crystal being asked. "You fought like you had studied our tactics for centuries." Roy stared out at the disabled ships. He felt strange, like he was waking up from a long dream. I think maybe I have," he said quietly. These incidents were happening all over the galaxy now. Humans were doing things that should have been impossible. The alien intelligence. Networks were flooded with reports they could not explain. A human farmer on a colony world somehow made crops grow in soil that had been poisoned. She just put her hands on the ground and whispered to it. A human teacher helped alien children learn mathematics by making the numbers appear in the air with her fingers. A human mechanic fixed a broken starship engine by singing to it in a language that no one recognized. The whispers in the air systems were getting louder. On every space station, every ship, every colony, people heard voices speaking words they could almost understand. "The children are remembering who they were," the voices said. "The blood of the first ones flows again. The sleeping gods wake." Up, some aliens were starting to get scared. These were not the weak, primitive humans they had laughed at. These were people who could do things that challenged everything the aliens thought they knew about the universe. Emergency meetings were held on 100 worlds. Alien leaders tried to make sense of what was happening. Some said it was just coincidence. Others thought the humans were using secret technology. A few began to wonder if there was something about humans that they had never understood. On Earth, more humans were having the dreams. They dreamed of walking among the stars without ships. They dreamed of teaching young races how to build civilizations. They dreamed of being guardians and protectors of all life in the galaxy. Jake Morrison woke up one morning and found that he could understand every alien language he had ever heard. The words just made sense to him now, like he had always known. Dr. Lisa Grant discovered that she could feel the emotions of people around her. When someone was sad, she knew it without being told. When someone was lying, she could taste the deception in the air. Even Pete Collins, still cleaning floors on the alien space station, was changing. The other workers noticed that machines ran better when he was around. The air seemed cleaner in the areas he had cleaned. Some aliens said the corridors felt more peaceful after Pete had walked through them. The whispers were becoming clearer. Now, on quiet nights, sensitive people could almost make out the words. They are the children of the first. The myths were memories. The legends were truth. The time of awakening has begun, but the full truth was still hidden. The aliens still did not understand what was happening. The humans did not understand either. They just knew that something inside them was changing, growing, remembering. The galaxy was about to learn that human fairy tales were not stories at all. They were history. And history was about to repeat itself in the depths of space, ancient. Machines that had been sleeping for millions of years began to stir. On forgotten worlds, monuments to the first ones started to glow with inner light. The children of Earth were coming home. And when they did, nothing would ever be the same. 3 weeks had passed since the council meeting. News of Earth's rejection had spread across the galaxy. Most aliens were not surprised. Many said humans were too young and simple to join the grown-up worlds. But strange things began to happen. The mining planet Kepler 442b, the Sectar workers were having problems. These lizard-like aliens were known for being good with machines. Their claws could fix anything. But lately, their tools kept breaking. Foreman Kresk hissed in anger as another drill stopped working. "This is the 5th one today," he growled to his workers. "These human-made tools are junk." But the tools were not human-made. They were Sectar tools that had worked fine for years. The only thing that had changed was the arrival of Carl Davis, a human engineer sent to help with the mining project. Carl was a quiet man with dirty hands and kind eyes. He did not talk much, but he worked hard. When the Sectar tools broke down, he would pick them up and somehow make them work again. "Let me see that," Carl said when another drill died. He took it in his hands. The machine was silent and cold. Carl closed his eyes for a moment. Then he pressed a button. The drill roared to life. The Sectar workers stared. Kresk grabbed the drill from Carl's hands. Immediately, it stopped working. He gave it back to Carl. It started again. "How do you do that?" Kresk asked. Carl shrugged. "I just ask it nicely." Kresk thought Carl was making a joke. But as the days went on, it became clear that something strange was happening. Every machine worked perfectly when Carl touched it. But when the Sectar used the same machines, they would spark and fail. On the other side of the galaxy, Amy Foster was having her own unusual experiences. She was a trade negotiator for Earth, trying to make deals with alien merchants. Amy had never been good at bargaining before. She was too nice and too honest, but on Altair Station, something was different. "The price is final," said Velinari. Merchant Crystallis. His crystal body flashed red with anger. 1,000,000 credits for the rare metals. Not 1 credit less. Amy looked at the sparkling alien. Usually, she would have agreed to pay the high price. But today, words came out of her mouth that surprised even her. "You will sell for 500,000 credits, she said. Her voice sounded different, deeper, more sure of itself. Crystallis stared at her. His body stopped flashing red. Slowly, it turned blue, which meant agreement. "Yes," he said in a dreamy voice. 500,000 credits is fair." Amy blinked. She had not expected that to work. As she walked away with the best deal Earth had ever gotten from the Velinari, she wondered what had happened. Her voice had felt strange in her throat, like it was not completely her own. Other human traders on the station started coming to Amy for help. Every time she spoke to alien merchants, they agreed to her terms. Word spread quickly through the trading halls. The impossible was happening over and over. Dr. Elena Rodriguez was having her own impossible day on the Farming World new series. She was a xenobiologist, which meant she studied alien animals. The native creatures on new series were known to be very dangerous. They attacked any outsider who came near their territory. Elena was supposed to stay in the safe zone, but she had seen some interesting plants near the danger area. She wanted to study them. "Do not go there," warned the Threx colony leader. The bug-like alien pointed with one of his 4 arms toward the dark forest. "The shadow cats will kill you in seconds. They hate all outsiders." Elena nodded, but she could not stop thinking about those plants. That night, she snuck out of the colony. She walked slowly toward the forest edge. The shadow cats appeared almost immediately. They were large, black creatures with 6 legs and glowing eyes. 3 of them surrounded Elena. Their teeth were as long as her fingers. Elena should have been terrified. She should have run. Instead, she found herself speaking to them. "Hello," she said softly. "I am not here to hurt you. I just want to look at the plants." The shadow cats stopped growling. They tilted their heads like confused puppies. One of them walked closer to Elena. It sniffed her hand, then sat down. Elena reached out and touched its head. The shadow cat purred like a giant house cat. Soon, all 3 cats were lying at her feet like tame pets. She spent the whole night in the forest, studying plants while the shadow cats guarded her. When she returned to the colony in the morning, the Threx workers could not believe their eyes. "How? Are you alive?" the colony leader asked. "They were very nice," Elena said simply, but Elena knew something strange had happened. When she spoke to the cats, she had not used words. She had somehow shared her thoughts and feelings with them. She could still feel their simple, wild minds at the edge of her consciousness. These incidents were not isolated. Across the galaxy, humans were doing impossible things. Pilot Steve Murphy flew his cargo ship through an asteroid field that should have destroyed him. But somehow, he knew exactly where each rock would be before it moved. His ship danced through the deadly space like it was following a planned route. Medic Rachel Torres saved the life of an alien who had been poisoned. The doctors said nothing could help, but Rachel put her hands on the alien's chest and somehow pulled the poison out. She could not explain how she did it. Diplomat Nit Parker shocked a peace conference by speaking about ancient alien traditions that were not written in any book. The alien leaders stared at him in amazement. How could a human know their most secret history? The alien intelligence services started keeping files on these incidents. At first, they thought it was luck or human trickery. But the reports kept coming. Too many reports. Too many impossible things. In the air systems of space stations and ships, something else was happening. Late at night, when the stations were quiet, people heard whispers. The words were too soft to understand clearly, but they felt important. "The children are remembering," the whispers said. Most people thought it was just the sound of air moving through pipes, but a few aliens began to feel nervous. Something was changing, and they did not know what it was. On Earth, humans were starting to have strange dreams. They dreamed of flying through space without ships. They dreamed of talking to stars. They dreamed of being much more than they had ever imagined. Jake Morrison, the commander who had failed at the council meeting, woke up one night with tears on his face. He had dreamed of standing in a great hall filled with beings of light. They had called him brother and child of the ancient line. Dr. Lisa Grant found herself writing in languages she had never learned. The symbols flowed from her pen like water, and somehow she knew they meant important things. Even Pete Collins, the janitor on the alien station, was changing. His eyes seemed brighter. When he cleaned the corridors, he hummed old songs that no one had heard before. The sound made some aliens feel homesick for places they had never been. The whispers in the air grew a little louder. Not loud enough for anyone to understand the words clearly, but loud enough to make people stop and listen. "They are starting to wake up," the voices said. The first ones stir in their long sleep. The aliens still did not take it seriously. They had ruled the galaxy for so long that they could not imagine anything changing. Humans were just humans. Small, weak, primitive humans with their silly stories. But the reports kept coming, and the whispers kept growing stronger. Something was coming. Something that would change everything. The humans did not know what was happening to them. They just knew that the world felt different. Colors seemed brighter. Sounds were clearer. And sometimes, just sometimes, they felt like they were much more than they appeared to be. The galaxy was about to learn that some fairy tales were not tales had. Oh, they were memories. Commander Jake Morrison felt nervous as he walked down the long metal hallway. The alien space station was huge, much bigger than anything humans had ever built. The walls were smooth and silver, and strange lights moved across them like water. He had never seen anything like it before Dr. Lisa Grant walked beside him. She carried a small bag with Earth's history files. Her hands shook a little. This was the most important day for all humans. Today, they would ask the aliens to let Earth join their big group of planets. "Are you ready?" Jake asked her. Lisa nodded. "I hope they listen to us." They reached two big doors. The doors opened by themselves with a soft sound. Inside was the largest room Jake had ever seen. It was round and very tall. Seats were placed in circles, going up and up like a mountain made of chairs. 12 different types of aliens sat in those seats. Jake had studied pictures of them, but seeing them in real life was different. Some looked like big lizards with sharp teeth. Others looked like walking crystals that made light. There were bug-like creatures with many eyes and arms. In the center of the room were two small chairs, human chairs. They looked very tiny compared to everything else. Jake and Lisa walked to their seats. All the alien eyes watched them. Some aliens made clicking sounds. Others made low humming noises. Jake did not know if they were talking or laughing. A tall, thin alien with blue skin stood up. It had 4 arms and spoke in perfect English. "I am Council Leader Zeph. You are the humans from the planet Earth." "Yes," Jake said, standing up. "I am Commander Jake Morrison. This is Dr. Lisa Grant. We come to ask for membership in the Galactic Council." The blue alien made a sound like a sigh. "Very well. Show us why your species should join us." Lisa opened her bag and took out a small device. Pictures appeared in the air above their heads. Earth looked beautiful from space. Blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown land. "This is our world," Lisa said. "We have 7 billion people. We have built cities and learned to travel in space. We have art and music and books." The pictures changed. They showed human paintings and buildings. They showed rockets and space stations. The aliens watched, but they did not look impressed. "What about your history?" asked a lizard-like alien. Its voice was rough like rocks grinding together. "What great things have your people done?" Lisa smiled. This was the part she had practiced the most. "Humans have amazing stories. We tell tales of gods who walked among us, heroes with great strength who fought monsters, wise men who could speak to animals, kings who ruled with magic swords." The room became very quiet. Then something strange happened. The lizard alien began to laugh. Not a happy laugh, but a mean one. Soon other aliens joined in. The bug creatures made clicking sounds that meant they found something funny. The crystal aliens flashed bright colors. "Gods?" said the lizard alien. "You believe in gods? Magic?" Laughed another alien that looked like a walking tree. "You think magic is real?" Lisa's face turned red. "No, these are stories from long ago, myths and legends. They show how humans think about being brave and good. Fairy tales," hissed the lizard alien. "You still tell stories about make-believe things. How can a grown species believe such silly things?" A crystal alien spoke in a voice like breaking glass. "On our world, we stopped believing in sky fathers and magic when we're still learning to make fire. You humans still play with these baby stories." Jake stood up. He felt angry. "These stories are important to us. They teach us about right and wrong. They help us understand who we are." "That is exactly the problem," said the bug alien queen. Her voice buzzed like 1,000 flies. "You need made-up stories to feel brave. Real species face truth without needing fairy tales." The blue leader nodded. "The council has heard enough. Any species that still believes in gods and magic is not ready to join the galactic community. You are like children who still need bedtime stories." "But we don't actually believe they're real," Lisa said quickly. "They're just stories that mean something to us. Then why do you waste time with them?" Asked a tree alien. "Strong species throw away such childish things." The council members began to talk among themselves in their own languages. Jake heard clicking, hissing, humming, and buzzing. None of it sounded friendly. The blue leader stood up again. "The Galactic Council votes on Earth's membership. All in favor?" No one raised a hand or made any sign. "All against?" Every alien in the room made some kind of gesture. Arms went up, lights flashed, wings spread. The vote is final. Earth is denied membership in the Galactic Council. Your species must grow beyond primitive mythology before you can join civilized worlds. Jake felt like someone had hit him in the stomach. Lisa sat down hard in her chair. All their work, all their hope was gone. "You may return to your world," the leader said. "Perhaps in a few hundred years, your people will be ready." As they walked back down the long hallway, Jake heard aliens still laughing behind them. The sound followed them like an echo. Near the exit, an older human man was cleaning the floors. He wore simple work clothes and had gray hair. His name tag said Pete. He looked up as Jake and Lisa passed. "How did it go?" Pete asked. "They said no," Jake said quietly. "They think our stories and myths make us too primitive." Pete stopped mopping. He looked down the hallway toward the council room. His voice was so quiet that Jake almost did not hear him. "If they only knew what we really are," Pete whispered. Jake did not understand what Pete meant. He was too upset to ask. He and Lisa walked to their small human ship and prepared to go home. Behind them, Pete went back to cleaning. But his words seemed to hang in the air, like smoke dot in the walls of the station. Air moved through pipes and tubes. Pete's whisper traveled with that air, spreading through every room and corridor. The words were too soft for anyone to hear clearly. But somehow they felt important. The aliens went back to their normal lives, still laughing about the silly humans and their baby stories. They did not know that something had changed. Something small but powerful had been set in motion. The humans flew away from the station, back toward their small blue world. They carried the weight of failure with them. But they also carried something else, something they did not yet understand. Pete finished his cleaning and went to his small room. He looked out a window at the stars. His eyes seemed older than his face, as if he had seen many things that others had not. "Soon," he whispered. "To the darkness. Very soon."